And the reason I paused and started chuckling is because if you're ugly, you're ugly. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Okay, so there's so much you can do.
there's so
Okay.
much you could. I mean, you could go lift weights, get huskier, and bank account gets a little bit bigger. So your cute radar becomes a little bit different, right? Jay-Z once said, I can't be an ugly billionaire. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if nothing else, I always say be your true authentic self because that is going to shine more than anything
Yeah.
because you can't sustain someone else.
Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing my really good friend, Dr. Kenneth Waters. Dr. Waters holds a PhD in educational leadership and policy. He is also an adjunct professor at Cornell University. In addition to his academic works, he leads his own consulting firm, The Distinguished Group. I'm going to let him talk about it because I don't want to butcher his goals and his mission. So,
Sounds good. Men, pleasure. Thank you for creating the space to have this conversation. As men mentioned, most people call me Doc, Kenny, and all the above. But for the most part, I say Kenny is who I am, and Dr. Waters is what I am. And as the founder and principal consultant of the Distinguished Group, our objective is specifically around helping leaders identify who they are and how they can be the most effective leader to their staff and to their employees, with the whole idea of fostering inclusive environments just so they're able to maximize not only their staff, but also the ability to move their bottom line in the most effective and efficient manner. So that's how we distinguish ourselves from other consulting firms as well as other leadership development entities.
he killed it, guys. That's amazing. That's Kenny for you. Okay, so my first question to you, Kenny,
Mhm.
is why do young men and women struggle with social skills more so than previous generations?
I'm assuming there is enough research out there to show that there is a difference, right?
Mm.
However, if I think about it from a personal standpoint and just my own personal life, considering the world that we're in today, I will say that it's not a necessarily issue. It's a practice that's not being utilized as often as it used to be when I was in that 20 to 30-year-old
Yeah.
range. And what I mean by that is that now you have dating based on our social media, right?
Yeah.
You have interactions with individuals through a screen. You're spending more time flicking through video feeds and reels as opposed to actually having dialogue with individuals. So reason I mention that is the simple fact that when I was in my 20s and coming up and looking to date, I was more engaged with individuals.
Gotcha.
So what I mean by engaging with individuals, I had better practice because I was using a muscle on a consistent basis. I knew how to have a conversation, how to open up and speak to someone. Whereas now, if you're focused on your screen time, you don't necessarily have that. So
Gotcha.
when you ask the question, why is there a challenge? I believe the challenge is more around people just out of practice,
Yeah.
right?
You don't think there's like a platform or situation where we can do it? Because you think COVID impacted our ability in the practice time for like early to late adolescence?
Uh, COVID is a contributing factor,
Okay.
obviously. However, prior to COVID, we were already knee deep in
Gotcha.
social media.
Yeah.
So my solution, if you want to call it a problem, is to apply what you're doing necessarily to social media because that's just here.
Yeah.
But now apply it to more real world and be realistic. All you are doing is essentially showing the world what you want them to see about yourself, right? So, men, if I see you post something on one of your social media outlets, as opposed to just liking, how about I engage with you?
Yeah.
Man, what do you mean by this? Oh, that was actually a pretty dope post. Tell me more. So now you're having practice as opposed to just liking and swiping. That was actually bars, liking and swiping.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I mean,
But that's my opinion of how to become more social
yeah.
in the midst of us being so prone to looking at our screens and so forth.
Gotcha. So actually engage and ask clarifying questions or something to kind of replace that versus being like a zombie scrolling,
Mhm.
liking, and just moving on with your day.
Yeah, yeah. How hard is it? I mean, it is difficult because we're at this microwave stage, meaning that we want things instantaneously.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a screen, If it doesn't engage you within that first 5 seconds, you're moving on.
Yeah.
But now, how about you take the time for at least 15 to 20 seconds or 30 seconds and basically read and understand what's happening and provide some type of commentary. So that's another way, I believe, that's how you can engage with someone else.
Gotcha. So this is like a follow-up question to the one I just asked. So because our generation isn't interacting with our peers as much, we experience loneliness more so than others. How do you overcome this challenge?
So interesting you asked that, considering that I'm a natural loner, right?
Okay. I would have never thought. By the way, this guy's the most social guy I've ever seen. Like, yeah. No,
So
for-
I'm a natural loner. However, I don't believe loneliness is a issue, right? I believe it's a tell-all tale about something else that's happening, right? So I guess it can be considered an issue. I'm speaking from the I perspective. So if you're lonely, that's one thing. But if you value being alone, that's another thing. So that's what I'm trying to differentiate. So I value being alone.
Yeah.
Loneliness, I think, attributes to you being able or being unable to communicate externally or outwardly about your desires and your needs.
Gotcha.
Right. So whether you are out amongst people or whether you are home or wherever amongst yourself, I believe it's a deeper issue. When you say loneliness, because loneliness, this is the English person coming out of me.
Yeah.
But I think of loneliness, that's something that's active.
Okay.
So you're moving. It's something that you are cognizant of, per se. Whereas I believe when you're alone, that's something that you are purposely doing.
You're choosing to be alone versus experiencing these negative feelings.
Exactly.
Okay. So in the terms of like social isolation, where there's people who physically don't have friends, so they experience loneliness, because you can experience loneliness, but you can't be socially isolated. So for example, like if you're out with so-called friends, but you still feel lonely, versus there's a lot of people because of COVID and social media in my cohort, they're just isolated from everyone else and they don't really know where to start or how to engage. So it's like a tough situation.
That is that. I mean, without saying socially awkward, I mean that is a. And I attribute to the initial question when you posed about like the impact of social media and being behind the screen. And yes, we want to blame COVID. But I believe, so I'm a consummate optimist.
Yeah.
Right. And I view COVID as more of an opportunity to kind of reinvent yourself. Right.
I see.
We could blame COVID for saying that now individuals went deeper into their isolation.
Yeah.
But I believe, again, this is my own perspective, is that you decide whether or not you want to be lonely in many aspects. Now, when you talk about being able to interact with different people, you also decide if you're going to interact with different people based on your comfort level.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I teach now at Cornell is around actively listening, right? And I suggest my individuals, we could call it socially awkward, my individuals who have a difficult time in relation to sparking up conversation. Find something that is of interest to you.
Yeah.
Hear what people are talking about and stick to what you know. Right? So if someone's having a conversation about something that's of interest to you and you can contribute to the conversation from your vantage point, do it. However, if someone else is also having a conversation and you're not necessarily well rehearsed in it, this is your opportunity to ask to be enlightened. So, man, I don't know anything about X, Y, and Z. Man, I don't know anything about what it means to attend Cal Poly.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that. Right? I've heard about it on the West Coast, but how about your enlightenment? What was your experience like? Yeah. So you get individuals talking. So now you are engaging in a social atmosphere, for lack of better words.
So as our mutual friend Tom Snyder would say, you would check understanding and then ask clarifying questions. Yeah. Okay. So that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And I believe it doesn't have to be this educated type of question. It could be something like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like more times than not, people are more inclined to speak about themselves. So you ask them to talk about themselves and their experience, they're more inclined to give you information. And then usually if you're providing those nonverbal cues that you're interested in hearing and learnings, then they more likely will ask you the same question. So what made you ask that? So tell me about yourself. And that's your opportunity to really engage. And also to eliminate the social awkwardness. If you don't have anything to say, so okay, great talking to you. Thank you for having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it's like reading the room, showing genuine interest in the other person. And even if you're socially awkward or not calibrated at the moment, the fact that you're showing interest, and if the person has time, they're not creeped out by you, they're going to forgive your shortcomings and continue on, or the conversation is going to die out and then you learn and you move on.
Yeah, just move on.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But when you do know, you do better. So why did I give you that particular statement is that I don't know how this interaction is going to go.
Yeah.
At least if I engage, I at least know what's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah.
And then you start building, go back to that initial question, which was a great question, a good foundational question, goes back to the idea of individuals are out of practice of how to engage in conversation.
Yeah.
So if I engage in conversation with one person and that goes good, but now my confidence has improved or has advanced.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm gonna try it again with someone else.
Yeah.
But the thing that most important I say is be true to who you are. Yeah. Right. You mentioned some of my credentials and all that, and I go back into again who I am. Right. My credentials are one thing, but who I am is the things that sustain me.
Gotcha.
Right. So if it's something I don't know, I just don't know it. Yeah. I don't proclaim that I know everything. However, I'm smart enough to realize when I'm out of my realm.
Yeah.
And I'm also smart enough to realize when, hey, I'm trying to learn a little bit more as a lifelong learner. So enlighten me.
Yeah.
That comes with confidence, I guess.
So does like being sure of yourself just come with time?
I want to say yes.
Yeah.
However, you hear of the terminology, some people just born with it. You know, you see these prodigies, like you could just tell from the moment they were born, they were going to be a public speaker. Yeah. From the moment they were born, they were going to be a professional athlete or whatever it may be. But I do believe the majority of us who are not blessed with those certain identifiable characteristics at birth, it comes with time. One of the things I always say is that there's one thing to have academic experience and you obtain your doctorates and all those good things, but it's another thing to have worldly experience. I believe the latter serves you better as opposed to the former, because you're able to interact and view life differently through varying perspectives as opposed to your small silo or your small environment.
So consistently expanding your horizons, challenging it, be an active participant in your life, like we were talking about, instead of just let life pass you by.
Yeah, just you don't want life happen to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And unfortunately, there are some people who operate in this particular manner. There's no necessarily fault of their own. It's just that what they're exposed to. One of my methodologies as an educator and one of my instructional practices is around access, exposing individuals to varying perspectives, to varying ideas, because I believe, again, that's where you're going to gain your best learning. And within that, you'll be able to understand more of who you are and what voice and what space do you have in society.
So there's a pervasive feeling amongst Gen Z about us just being nihilistic about the future in society. It seems as if there's not really like a place for us and we're falling through the cracks. What are your thoughts on that?
Perspective versus reality, right? And if you perceive that, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to, again, you go back to what we initially talked about, are you going to just allow it to happen or are you going to do something else about it? For instance, when we think about activists throughout history, right? They did something about it as opposed to allowing it to happen. And I'm not saying you have to become the next Dr. King or the next or the next activist, major activist to have these revolutionary movements. What I am saying is that you can control your personal environment. You can control the spaces that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. So if you believe that you're falling down on cracks, but you want to do something about it, do something about it. But if you believe you're falling down on cracks and you don't do anything about it, you're falling down on cracks.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do as a leadership coach is I help leaders see the vitality in themselves and their capabilities within their realm. Right? You may have these grandiose ideas, which is great. However, you're pulling and you're hopefully moving individuals who are different walks of life. They don't see the same vision that you see. The distinct difference that I use is that, are you a leader who looks at the trees or you're a leader who look at the forest?
Yeah.
Right. So for your answer your question specifically, are you individuals who believe that you're falling down the cracks, or you're an individual who know you're falling down the cracks and you want to do something about it?
It's like shifting from external locus control to an internal locus control, and recognizing that, look, things might be more difficult for Gen Z. There's not a lot more resources. It's very scarce. It's very competitive to make it, let's say, the middle or upper class. Things are extremely expensive and hard. Baby boomers kind of fucked us over, which is a big fact. But at least say, I'm going to do my best to like get out of this no matter what.
So I'm a reflective person. And what I do is ask them to really clarify, what does that mean that things are effed up for me? Where does that mean that I don't have the same opportunity and resources? Because I can argue, I said, you actually have more resources now.
Gotcha.
Right. So I first will ask you to quantify and actually not necessarily listen to hearsay, but use that as data. And as you have this data, again, I'm turning it back on you.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to argue that you have more resources at your disposal now than the baby boomers, than my generation, and so forth. So it's all about how you approach life. You know, why cry over spilled milk? The milk has spilled already. No one really talks about what it took to get to this particular point in your life.
Yeah.
Like, no one talked about the nights when there were rough evenings. No one talked about the night when you really were in doubt. Right? It's a process. So bask in that process and use that process as learning opportunities and manifest what you have, what you set out for yourself, the vision that you have. Manifest it. Speak into existence. So I say all that to say is, you don't have to be successful for the masses.
Yeah.
You can be successful for, as I mentioned, my son. If I'm successful for my son, I'm happy. I'm satisfied. I made it. Right?
So a lot of young men nowadays are being told that their masculinity is toxic. Can you define what healthy and toxic masculinity is?
That's a good one, right? And so when I hear toxic, I hear negative connotation. Am I hearing that right? Correct? And if I think about toxic masculinity, I think about machoism, misogyny. I think about the inability to show emotion. Am I?
Yeah.
All right. And for men, I want to believe, me growing up, I'm speaking for I perspective again. Growing up, it was that you're a boy, you're a man, you're not supposed to show emotion, right? You're supposed to always be tough, and that messed with me throughout my, I won't say it, but until my mid-30s, and until I went to therapy. Yes, therapy is good, you know. Therapy is exactly what is needed for, and after I went to therapy to really unpack, again, back to what I initially talked about, the who I am, I realized that toxicity that I had within me, what it meant to be a man, was hindering not only my progress with females, but just hindering me being the best version of myself to me.
Yeah.
Right? So to give you all that context, one, if you can't afford therapy, try it. You know, try to find a good friend.
Yeah, try to find
find a good friend, and you can afford the things that you want help in that are important to you. And that therapy session doesn't have to be 6, 8, 10 hours long. A therapy session can be one off or something like that. Because it helps you, in my opinion, if you find a good one, it helps you really dig into how your background and your experiences molded you into the man that you are today, right? So that's some context. My suggestion as you are navigating from being a child to a boy to manhood is really be open and honest with how you feel. And do not be scared or have fear that by you expressing your true authentic self is going to be looked upon in a way that makes you even weaker, you know? Yeah. So I think about, I bring up my son again, is that I show him manly love. I tell my son I love him. I give my son a hug. I show him, I praise him for the type of young man that he is.
Final question, Kenny. It's the most juicy question. Is Gen Z fucked when it comes to dating?
Man, I would say Gen Z actually has it better now.
Wow, that's controversial. I forgot.
I know, right?
You're the first person to say that, yeah.
And just think about it.
Okay.
You now have access to individuals all over the world.
Okay.
My generation, I had access to the city I was in, and if I ever attended certain events.
That was it.
That was my peripheral.
Yeah.
Now, we talk about the social media and all these dating apps. You could connect with someone 5,000 miles away. The difference is individuals necessarily don't know how to interact with people. Yeah. Which is, I would attribute, I'm assuming since you're a Gen Z, and you're having this conversation, they don't know how to interact with people on a more personal level. Yeah. They don't necessarily know what they want because they don't know who they are. So what I will say, one of the things that was beneficial to me after my divorce was I dated myself. And that helped me understand who I was, for one, and what I wanted. And I believe Gen Z necessarily are not familiar or well-rehearsed around identifying what they want.
Okay. So with that being said, do you think because we have unlimited access to women or whatever guys, whatever you have, does that inflate the egos of people?
Inflate whose ego?
So for example, I'm a straight male, so like women, right? Their expectations have gone higher. Okay. So have you heard of hypergamy?
No, tell me.
Okay, so hypergamy, I learned this in actually in college during like the psychology of dating. So it's where like women will only date the best. So for example, let's say there's a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Women who are like 6 and above will only date guys either 8 or above, versus guys will date someone above them, to the middle or below in terms of socioeconomic status, attractiveness, or height. So it's like guys will, in terms of hypergamy, like settle for less. We're like, okay, it's like this will work. Okay, she's loyal. She's everything I want. But girls only want like the 6-foot Chad, 6 figures. You get the rest. So it's like a big thing that's been proven in studies of hypergamy. So like nowadays, it's like through online dating, girls, if you're not above like 6 feet tall, girls will filter and you're fucking cut off.
Okay. So that's probably why they're on the dating apps.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reality is, I forget this study. I've read this years, at least at minimum 5, no more than 8 years ago, that the average man in this world is under 6 feet.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Yeah.
Right? The average. So, okay, you want to look for a guy that's 6 feet over? All right, good luck.
Yeah, I think the average height in America is like 5'6" or 5'7".
Yeah. So
and the amount of men that are over 6 feet, like less than 1%.
Yeah. I think when I read this, again, this is 5, maybe no more than 8 years ago, that there are only 3% of the men in this world that are over 6 feet.
Yep, that's true.
So, okay, put that as a filter. Put that as something that you want. I want a 6 feet man. Okay, fine. All right, now you're just dropping the limits down, right? He needs to make six figures. Okay, I don't know too many 20-year-olds that are making six figures at this particular time. Some are.
Yeah.
However, there's a trade-off with that. They got to continue to earn that particular money, whether they're working for themselves or they're working for a company. So there's a trade-off, right? So continue to do that filter. And traditionally, if an individual is 6+, attractive, check all the boxes, sweetheart, sis, homie, I'm sorry, but he has other options.
That's true. That is true.
So you asked me the question, are they fucked? Bro, like, they got more options than they could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Because now, for instance, I'm attractive, I have a good job.
Once again, I'm so sorry for the random jump cut. It was 100 degrees and the camera overheated. I tried doing everything possible, and the cicadas are really annoying. But if you made it this far, I appreciate it because the overall message is so good. I don't want to miss it or to delete the footage. Okay, cool. So we have this dog, but it's perfect. We got the dog in us, right? Okay, so pretty much what we're talking about is like girls want men who are 6 feet tall, 6 figures, 6-inch dick, and then but the girls aren't. It's not. I don't know, reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair to make those demands. And like what you were saying was men who are very attractive have options, and they're not going to choose you.
Yeah. I mean, are they? You'll be part of the team. I mean, they may choose you. You know what I mean? And I want to say now, growing up and dating in my 20s, 30s, and so forth, I would say now the options are plentiful, right?
Mhm.
As one. But I will say now is that nothing is considered taboo.
Yeah.
You have different terminologies of what's considered a relationship.
So like a throuple.
That's 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow.
You have ethically non-monogamous, you have casual, you have the friends with benefits, just the situationships.
Yeah.
I think Will and Jada Smith Pinkin made that popular, right? When they talked about there was an entanglement. And so one of the things that I was going with was around the idea of knowing what you want and just being transparent.
Yeah.
Like you said, you mentioned, was there a small number where there an opportunity, where there are not as many opportunities?
Yeah.
Where I say it's the total opposite.
Okay.
I think there are a plethora of opportunities, and individuals now are more okay with not having the traditional relationship.
Gotcha.
What is traditional now?
Yeah. It's whatever you want.
Whatever
Just
you
being
want.
open about it.
Yeah.
So broaden your search and horizons.
Or just, I don't even say broaden your search of horizons, just know what works for you and just be communicative and be real of what works for you.
Yeah.
One of the worst things that you can do is say one thing and do something totally different. That's just me. Man, I could sit in your chair and provide the same type of questions that you ask me. However, it'll be different because this is something that's passionate to you.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not passionate to me, but it's a different level of passion.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So the point I'm trying to make is be your true authentic self.
Yeah.
Because that has longevity and that's sustainable, as opposed to hindering and putting who you want to be in a dormant state, as opposed to being in an active state.
So it's be the best version of yourself. Find ways to improve your looks, career, but do it genuinely for yourself. Know what you want. Go out and search for that, and don't settle for less.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I paused and started chuckling is because if you're ugly, you're ugly. You know?
Yeah. Okay, so there's so much you can do.
There's so much you can. I mean, you could go lift weights, get huskier, and bank account gets a little bit bigger. So your cute radar becomes a little bit different, right? Jay-Z once said, I can't be an ugly billionaire. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if nothing else, I always say, be your true authentic self, because that is going to shine more than anything.
Yeah.
Because you can't sustain someone else. You can sustain the best version of yourself and build the confidence. So that's what I do as a leadership coach. I help leaders be their true authentic self, because that's the thing that's most sustainable. In my opinion, that's also the thing that people will respect more. So if you're a leader who's an asshole, don't try to come off as being empathetic. No, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But how do we still be a true authentic self and still be morally and ethically productive in your work environment?
Yeah. So own up to it. Don't be fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it's going to unravel in some form or fashion, because you can't sustain it.
No.
It's not natural.
No. That's true. Well, guys, thank you again for watching us. Huge thank you to Kenny.
Thanks.
He's worked. This is awesome. So if it kind of looks jittery, it's because it's fucking hot outside, and the camera keeps shutting off the internal tab. So we had to reshoot some things, but we made it work. Yeah. So other than that, peace out, guys. Till next time.
Please appreciate you, man.